Hello. Sorry, guys, I still kind of have the throaty thing. It is still the early morning hours of November 22nd, 2015. But we wanted to do a part two to the recording titled Tending Gardens, whatever followed that. Those are the first two words. Um, so, this is probably only going to be part one. But just to put something there and then continue with it later on. We touched on something in that recording having to do with, I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but basically, excuse me, basically that if we are not caring for our own garden within, any type of demonstration that we are having with others, that we're displaying toward others, that seems to sort of resemble love, compassion, concern, care, is not the true thing. Now, that's what we touched on in the last recording. This one, we're going to branch out to something that if anybody's wondering, well, how can you differentiate between when a person is really, they're demonstrating true love towards someone as opposed to some manufactured thing that they've seen someone else do or they read about in a book or a magazine. Who are you to judge? I'm not judging, but I think that because this is our own thing, the things that I say are things that I've learned in my own experience. So for anyone who's interested to know within themselves, could that be possible with me? That maybe, the things that I do for other people or, maybe for this particular person is not really coming from a true loving place. It's coming from, it's something I'm manufacturing. It's not something that's rooted in true love inside myself. If you're honestly looking at that and asking yourself that question, one thing that may serve as a sort of litmus test is love is clear, crystal clear. It is not foggy or muddied at all with conditions, with expectations, with judgments, with those types of things. It's not asking for anything in return. So, let's make this even more clear. No pun intended. Anyway. So, while you may be exhibiting types of features of what might be love or what might be pseudo love, which isn't in itself like a bad, evil thing, like you're just putting on a pretense on purpose. If you really want to uncover, well, then you need to perhaps ask yourself, when I do these things for the person, is it in freeness? and that's it? Or do they come with strings attached? Like, well, if I'm doing this, then you ought to be blah, blah, blah. You're, do you have expectations? Do you have, you know, are you playing a guilt trip on the other person now because I do this and I do this and I do that for you, and what do you do for me? Mm-mm. That's not love. Because love is not, it is not, just because it's not, it just isn't. If you want to put a label on it with the word love, by all means. But then you're not really looking for the truth. You just want to kind of gloss over and move on to some other thing. And that's fine. If that's your decision and that's what you want to do, it's your path, it's your journey, it's your life, it's your experience. You do you, But if you're looking at it, or even if you, if you don't express those sentiments to the person, oh, I feel, underappreciated. I don't feel this. You do nothing in return. And even if you don't say those things, if you feel that way, that's also an indication. Because words are just a manifestation of the truth that lies within. And so you don't actually have to say the words to the person. But if the feeling behind the words that don't ever come out of your mouth, nonetheless, the feelings exist, which are, I don't feel a certain outcome, because love is the whole equation. It is the beginning, the middle, and the end. And so that's it. So love is complete in itself, and it doesn't want or ask or even who knows, maybe it doesn't even know the existence of, tit for tat. Okay, so even if you're feeling so yeah, sometimes I do feel underappreciated, undervalued. I feel like I'm a doormat. Okay, now this is going to branch out into other things now, but we have to deal with each one individually, right? The first being the original idea that we started with, which is, are the things I'm doing motivated, fueled by love, by true love? So that's one. Now, if it's true that people are mistreating you, that's a different subject. If you're being used as a doormat, that's a different subject. Okay? That is their action toward you. What we're dealing with right now is just solely what is the intention behind the things that you do. Is it love or is it other? Okay, so now that's not to beat yourself up about or anything like that. It's just we need to discover, because in the discovering is self-discovery. And that's, that's where we roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty, get our arms dirty, get ourselves dirty. That's where we really get in the muck. And in it is the self-discovery. That's kind of the hard part in it, It's the early stages. And it's okay. Everybody starts at some point. Everybody has a beginning point that they start at. And there's no shame or guilt or any reason to feel bad about it. We just look at, okay. So I called it love, but when I understand what love truly is, I realize that was a misnomer. This is something else. So then becomes the next thing. is to understand what is happening. What is fueling the things that you do? Is it fear of something? Do you feel a need for something? Do you feel a void that you're trying to fill? If you do, what is the void? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Even if you don't give it a name, what does it feel like inside? What does it look like if you drew a picture of it? What color is it? What is it? Is it happy? Is it really sad? Is it angry? Is it whatever it is? That's what we do. We just and it's really good. It doesn't feel good because when we get used to a certain way of being, shifting away from it and into unknown territories in the beginning can feel what we wouldn't describe as a, quote, good feeling. Kind of scary, kind of this, there could be this feeling like, whoa, what exactly is going to happen now? Is my whole life going to do a 180? What parts of my life are going to be affected? Maybe deeply affected, maybe irreversibly affected from this investigation. Those are the feelings that we feel inside, even though we don't always put those particular questions or words to the feelings. It's some anxiety, but that's natural because of the way we've been existing, And you just think of anything in life when you've gotten used to even a miserable situation, as odd as that is, to consider. If you're in a miserable situation long enough and you've learned to live that way, to exist that way, then if something is introduced that is not miserable, you're not going to know what the hell to do. You're really not going to know. And in the not knowing is the kind of discomfort and anxiety. It's like, well, what the fuck do I do with this? If somebody comes up on me with a piece, like, I'll blow your fucking brains out, mother. I know how to do it. I know what to do. I can handle that. If somebody's coming upside my head, another day, another whop upside my head. I know how to deal with it now. I know I've lived like that. But now, and there have even been cases that I believe where people have changed their bad behavior, and guess what? The seeming victim of this person is like, psh, you changed. I'm out. I don't even know who you are anymore. What? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to process this new you, this new and improved version of you, quote, improved. But so it's normal. We don't judge ourselves because judgment cuts us off. Judgment is the opposite of possibility. Possibility is the whole thing. It's the whole thing. It's all about possibility and expansion and learning, understanding and moving along in the flow. But judgment stops that. It stops it up. And that's why we can say, oh, somebody seems kind of shallow, because there's so many blocks, they like You say people, and those are judgments. It's not that I call somebody shallow, um, but or somebody could be considered, oh, that person's not too deep. They're just all about the surface stuff, the triviality. They won't dive deep into it, right? And that's what happens when we don't dive deep. We do become sort of what would maybe be described as shallow, just um just there, going through the mechanics of whatever. We don't want to be stagnant, a stinky stagnant pool. That's not life. That's rot. We don't want to rot, right? We don't want to be rotting, walking corpses, you know? And it just had this image of a farmer tilling the ground, the soil, preparing it, making it ready for ready. You ever seen some of those tools they use? And they go in the ground and they really work it out, you know? They dig and it's work. And breaking through that ground and all of that stuff. And if we could imagine that soil is us on the inside, how that might feel, just imagine that. Nonetheless, it's necessary. It's a necessary part of it. It's without it, nothing will grow. And life will, it's like life will slow down, and there'll be confusion. Like, what am I even doing here? I'm a waste of space. This is all pointless. This is, but we'll still keep getting up every morning and going to work and, stick to our routine because we've got used to it. But it's not really living. So, that's it. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. So thank you and much love.